Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. Now, we're almost there, and soon I'll be saying 500,000 subscribers, because one thing I can assure you, the chaos is not going to stop. So it's important for you to subscribe, watch, and share with your friends. Now, I'm really honored to say that this week, my co-host in Political Beatdown, my co-host, Ben Meiselas, had this rare opportunity to interview President Joe Biden. And it was an amazing, amazing opportunity for Ben, as well as for the entire MeidasTouch network and all of us who are affiliated to MeidasTouch network. And I want to show you some clips from it because it's really that impressive. So Ben asks President Biden about his biggest accomplishment over the past 4 years. Play the clip.
So as you look back over the past 4 years, what do you believe are your biggest accomplishments that you're most proud of?
Well, when I ran, I said I was going to try to do 3 things. Restore some integrity to the office, bring back a sense of focus on the needs of ordinary people, and try to unite the country. And so that's what I've done. I've tried to do. In 4 years, we've accomplished a lot. I mean, it hadn't trickled down to every single person yet, but we're in a situation where we have the strongest economy in the world by any measure. For example, we made sure that we got ourselves in a situation where we wanted to get results immediately. So I started work on the things I thought were most consequential. How can we lead the world without having the best infrastructure in the world? The best ports, airports, et cetera, roads, highways, transportation, electric connectivity. How can we lead the world if we're not dealing with the single greatest threat to humanity, the emergence of climate change? We go above 1.5 degrees Celsius, we're in real trouble. Our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren are in real trouble. And if we can't move in the direction of seeing to it that we take care of the people who are most in need, for example, the idea that we charge so much for prescription drugs in America.
Yeah. I mean, these are 3 very significant accomplishments, and we hope that the new administration coming in will see these issues in the same way that Joe Biden does. Now, Ben then goes on to ask, and I think it's a great question. It probably would have been the first question that I would have asked. Is there anything that he would have done differently? Play the clip.
As you prepare to leave the White House, any other regrets that you have? Anything you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I guess if I thought a lot about it, it'd be something I've done specifically done, but not generically. I set out to do 2 things. Restore America's leadership in the world. I think we've done that. And 2, to generate opportunity for ordinary people to have a shot in the economy. And I think we've done that as well.
Yeah. And again, he has. The next question that Ben asks him is how I'm going to end up tying the last question to this clip, where he asks him about the media coverage over President Biden's presidency, what he thinks it looked like. Play the clip.
So what's your overall view of, I think, the media coverage? Do you think there's anything you could have done differently in interacting with them? What's your overall perspective on that? Were they too busy covering the horse race of politics?
Well, I think it's, you and your crew here would know much better than I would, but I think the media's changed drastically. Not bad or good, just changed in a fundamental way. When you read that only, something like 6-7% of people under the age of 25 read a newspaper to get their news, so on and so forth. It's technology is changing everything, and I think your guys are extremely successful because you speak to what is a truth. You say, this is what I think the facts are, and you lay it out, and you speak to it. But it's hard to, there are very few editors anymore. Very few editors saying you can't write that. Or you have billionaires buying standard newspapers that are well known and saying we're not going to do that anymore. We're not, because I don't want to do it. So I think it's going to take a while for this to sort out.
It's not going to take a while. It's not. And he was right when he said that better to ask people like the crew there at MeidasTouch Network. Better to ask Michael Cohen. This show, believe it or not, gets more views than almost all of the television shows that are there. Imagine that. What would I do if I was President Biden? I know if I was president of the United States, every single day for 5 minutes a day, or maybe like here, these 12-minute episodes from the desk of Michael Cohen in the Oval Office, Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm your president, Michael Cohen. Welcome back. Today, this is what we are doing. This is what we accomplished. This is what we intend to accomplish. This is what needs to happen, blah, blah, and blah. And I would lay out and I would pat myself on the ass every single day, like Trump does. He's got the media down right, Trump. So say whatever you want. And you know what? You don't need newspapers. You don't need television. You post the shit here on YouTube. You put it on TikTok. You put it on X. You put it on his Truth Social. You put it on Threads. You put it on Blue Sky. Put it everywhere. It's a 10-minute or so, just basically from the desk of the president. So everybody sees it. And even if you only see 1 minute, oh, there goes Joe Biden again, or there goes President Michael Cohen again, turning around and complimenting himself. But you know what? He did do that, didn't he? Yeah. It's very hard then to turn around and to say that somebody's not accomplishing. If you ask 90% of Republicans, name 5 things that Joe Biden accomplished during his presidency, or tell me how many people, each of you, think about this. How many jobs did Joe Biden's administration create over his 4-year period? And the answer is over 16 million. 16 million. Most people don't even know that. And shame on them, because that's what he was left with, as a result of COVID, loss of jobs. I want to go on to turn around and to say that, Biden then explains further in the questioning how things have changed since he was first a senator. Play that clip.
It's hard to dislike someone when you know their problems. You can disagree like hell, but you can still work together. And we've lost that. There's very little communication between Democrats and Republicans who hold office before. And it's hard to get things done that way. I remember I went over, as I said, I was a vice president. I decided I was known for having good relationships in the Senate. So I show up for lunch. There's no dining room there anymore. Just easy chairs. No place a group of Democratic and Republican senators on a regular basis, we just sit down and talk, get things done. So we have to, things have become too distant, in my view. And I think it's going to start changing.
Yeah. I remember the days of, for example, Tip O'Neill, where you could fight like hell all day long, and then after work, they all went out and grabbed a beer. And that's where most of the stuff got done. But next, Ben goes on to ask President Biden about the war in Gaza. And what's next? Play the clip.
Do you think you reach a deal in Gaza before your term ends?
I hope so. I think so. But you never know.
Yeah, you don't. You never know. Then Ben goes ahead and he asks Biden about his feelings on Project 2025. Play that clip.
How dangerous do you think Project 2025 is? And
it's devastating. I think if Project 2025 came along and how many thousands of government employees they want to cut, how many changes they want to make in terms of what we can do and not do. I mean, it's an extreme policy written by an extreme group, and I don't think it can take hold.
Yeah. I mean, he's right. Project 2025 is a manifesto for the complete destruction of our democratic republic. But of course, knowing how well right now the country is doing, our GDP, job growth, wage increase, and so on, Ben asks what I would consider to be an incredible question to the president: if he thinks that Trump will ultimately take credit for the things that this administration have set in motion. Play that clip.
What are you going to do when the other guy, those out there bragging about accomplishments under you? The Medicare $2,000 cap is going to kick in 2025. And he's going to be out there saying, I did this. How's that going to make you feel when that happens?
Look, if it continues to benefit the American, look, I've invested more in red states than in blue states. All of these programs we just talked about. And the reason for that was the red states didn't operate very well, and they really hurt their constituents. So those factories closed and the like. The fact is that I represent all of America, not just Democrats. And I think what it's going to do is going to bring the country more together than separate it. And for example, you already have folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others saying, don't eliminate the factory after talking about the proposal that we're going to build that was the worst idea anybody's ever had. She didn't vote for it. So I think there's going to be a bit of a comeuppance here, but the bottom line is I'm convinced that over time, the American public will respond to what is the intention of the party to try to help ordinary people. And the fundamental change I made, and I made a speech at Brookings Institution about it recently, was on the economy.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. He will take it. I liked how when Ben was asking the question, President Biden is smiling about it because I know what he wanted to say, and so do you. But he was very measured in that response. Now, look, many people are very fearful. I mean, the anxiety that's right now existing in this country and abroad of what Trump will ultimately do when he becomes inaugurated as president. But Ben then goes on to ask President Biden what he would say to the American people and citizens of other countries about this issue. Play the clip.
What do you say to Americans who are understandably very nervous right now, who didn't vote for the other guy, who are fearful of the threats, the rhetoric, the idea of retribution? What do you say to them who are looking at you, who admired your work? And what do you say to them right now who are watching?
We got to stay involved. We got to keep fighting. You got to make clear we're not going away. We're not going away. I'm not going away. I'm going to be deeply involved in the environment. I'm going to be deeply involved in foreign policy, deeply involved in all the things I've been involved in before. There's a whole lot of people too that are doing that. And I'm not. This is not appropriate for me to be asking you questions, but think about what decisions you have to make to be the kind of listenership and followership you have, and how do other entities do that and tell the truth like you do. It's about finding ways to communicate with people that are so different than existed even 10 years ago. And it's a moment of transition. I know I drive my friends crazy. I keep talking about major inflection points in American history, in world history. But every 6 or 7 decades, something changes of consequence that generates a significant shift in the way people look at things.
Yeah, and he's right. Now, lastly, I want to show you how they ended the interview. And I want to show it to you because I believe it's important to stay vigilant and to stay hopeful. But let's hear it from the president himself. Play that clip.
Your problem is you're a congenital optimist. I have enormous faith in the American people to end up in the right place. I really, really do. We just got to keep fighting.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for what you've given this country over the past 4 years, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Beautiful interview. Really fantastic. And it's what we have to do. We have to stay vigilant. We have to stay hopeful. And most importantly, we have to stay in the community. We have to stay engaged. That's why I'm going to say again, make sure you subscribe, make sure you watch this, and make sure that you share with your friends so that they too remain engaged. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.